evening, everybody. It is absolutely wonderful to see you all. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us on what is an absolutely gorgeous day. I'm sure many of us would rather be doing something else. So thank you for taking the time to be here this evening. This meeting should be fairly short and sweet and to the point. However, you never know how things will go. So we'll leave that option open. But we're going to jump into the roll call this evening, and I am going to go ahead and conduct the roll call because Ms. Williams is not with us this evening. Accordingly, Allison Clark, I am here. Miss Pat Colt. I saw the name just a moment ago, but I don't see her now.
Yep, I think she dropped off. She was having a little bit of tech trouble. She dropped off and she's coming back in. But she is here, Madam Chair.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Miss Ann Phillips.
Here.
Miss Shirley Nichols.
Here.
Jacqueline Rainey.
Here.
Chief Tyus.
Here.
All right, Sean Billingsley. Oh, I see Sean's hand is raised. I will take that as your roll call. Hollis Turner, let me know she will be, or she won't be here this evening. LaShondra Burks.
Present.
Nicole Morato.
Present.
And I see Pat. I see your hand raised as well. I am marking you as present as well. First Deputy Chief James McLemore.
I don't see Macklemore yet.
Okay, no worries. And Jerry Basin. I don't see her yet.
Yep.
Oh, there we are. Thank you. Ophelia Lee. Let's see. I saw Ophelia here a little bit earlier.
Yes, Ophelia is here. Her hand is raised as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Amy Taylor.
Here.
Thank you. Tori Tucker. I don't see him. Okay, Miss LaShawn Atwaters. Yep, I see
Present.
you. Dustin Hillis. All right, well, we are here and we have quorum. So we can move on into our governance, and if anyone else pops up, Mr. Freeman, if you'll just keep me abreast of that, I will add them to the roll call.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to move forward with adopting the agenda and approving the minutes as a package deal. If I can get a motion.
Allison, I had a motion to make an update to the agenda.
Okay, let's take the agenda separately. What is your motion?
I wanted to see if we could remove the DeKalb resolution agenda item, since I know that I recently touched base with Ted and he's in contact with DeKalb County leadership. So I didn't and there could be some changes to that. So I just didn't think it was relevant right now in case that might be different or not applicable for our group discussion.
Absolutely. If I can get a second. Well,
I'll
easily,
second.
I will second. Wait,
I'll
who do I
second
have for
too.
a second? Okay,
I'll
2
third.
seconds. Thank you very much, Amy. And just as a quick comment relative to that, I will let you all know that I did speak with Ted Terry this afternoon. There will be some updates to the resolution. He's planning to have that together by close of business tomorrow. And so long as that comes to fruition and is sent out to me, I will make sure that it makes it out to the rest of the committee, and then we can go from there. But with that, we've got a motion, we've got a second. With a show of hands and voices, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Give me just a minute so I can make sure I accurately record this. All righty, thank you all. It is so moved. The agenda has been updated. With that, we'll take the approval of the minutes separately since we made an adjustment to the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve minutes?
I'll motion to approve the minutes. Nicole Morado.
Thank you, Nicole. Can I get a second?
I'll second
Second.
Amy Taylor.
Thank you again, Amy. And instead of taking a show of hands, I'll just say if nobody objects, we will move forward with the minutes as written. If there are any objections, please speak now. All right, it has been moved. Thank you all very much. That made that very easy peasy this evening. With that, we can move directly into the security update. So we will toss to Chief Tyus.
All right. Good evening, everyone. As always, thanks for having me. And I'll be brief today. As always, we continue our bi-weekly visits out to our property. And basically now we're just kind of doing aerial overviews of it. We're not putting a lot of man hours in there. The one significant thing we did do was last Thursday, September the 22nd, we had all the tires on the property, which just continuously were being lit on fire. So thanks to Marshall Freeman and the Police Foundation, we were able to get a contractor to come out and remove about 75 tons of tires out there. We started that morning about 7 a.m. and we went through until about 2 o'clock, removing all the tires from that property. And it was about 75 tons when we got done. There were 5 truckloads of tires. So we had about 25 officers on the property. We had our drone units up and we had our motors out there directing traffic. So hopefully it didn't impact you all at all during that time, but we were able to get all those tires, and that was just huge because we were afraid that the protesters were going to end up starting a huge fire that would impact that immediate area to include your neighborhood. So that was a huge win for us, and that's the biggest thing we've had going. And since then, we continue to maintain a visual presence out there. And so hopefully we can start moving upright with buildings here in the near future. So thank you all for being a supporter. Are there any questions of me?
The floor is open for questions. Sean Billingsley, I see your hand raised.
Oh, no, let me lower it.
No worries. Shirley Nichols, do you mean for your hand to be raised?
Not at all.
All right, I will
There
lower
you
it for you. No
Nobody wants to
worries.
talk to me.
It appears that way. Let's see. Amy's hand is raised. Amy, is that intentional? All right, good deal. Unmute yourself and take the floor.
Yes, hi, thank you. As far as that incident that you were just talking about, we, as far as the immediate surrounding neighborhoods, have asked repeatedly for some kind of notification when there's stuff going on down there. So we're not worried, we're not questioning, we're not, like I ran straight into that roadblock and I was like, what's going on? And I had no idea. So, I was on my way to work, and then I was worried because my daughter was home by herself, what was going on. And there was nothing on the Facebook, no kind of notification that we've asked several times for. So can we get something that we can look at and find out what's going on? Also, here the last few days, we've been hearing repeated gunfire from that direction. Again, what's going on? We don't know. Is it somebody we need to call in about, or is it testing, or what's going on? We don't know. We're in the dark as far as when things start happening. And we've asked over and over, some kind of notification would be nice. And we've got nothing.
Amy, if I could jump in real quick, and Chief Tyus, before you respond, I did want to jump in and say that I shared notification relative to your community. I shared it to Nicole Morado, so that at least you all would have an idea of what was taking place, and hopefully, relative to this most recent incident, or I shouldn't even say instance of having activity at the site. And so the hope there was to make sure that anyone who was concerned would be aware, but I don't have, and I don't know that APD would have a way to notify the community as a whole. And then relative to the gunfire, I can at least say from my community, our HOA gets updates when there is planned activity at the range, but we don't get updates for everything that happens, obviously. And so I just want to kind of throw that out there. And then the last piece that I will mention is one thing that I know that has been a hindrance for us is we can't know about everything before it happens because the information finds its way into the wrong hands. And so even when I, had the information to share out to Nicole, it was once the operation was underway this past week. But with that, I will defer back to Chief Tyus for any input or updates that he has in response to your question.
And let me just say real quick, it's not that we don't appreciate that you guys are down there, because we do. We would just like to know what's going on. Something would be nice. And I understand that discretion is needed as far as criminals and things like that go. But, I think in this instance, as far as the tire situation goes, and Allison, Nicole did tell me about that, but it wasn't until I already knew about it hours later. It was 8 o'clock in the morning when I was on my way to work. So
Are you saying you
feel
want, you would like to
wasn't
be made
really-
aware before it's happening?
Yeah,
An
like
update?
if they're planning to go down there and block off the road and do work or some kind of preliminary work that's gonna keep things from getting worse, that's great. And I appreciate that. I just would like to not worry about my daughter.
No, Amy, and I can appreciate that. And I think the way we were doing it, we're sending out to select individuals. And as Allison said, because we were limiting the number of people we were sending it to. But I think in the beginning, I asked Allison for a list for an email blast. And I think I still have that email list. So what I can do is I'll still notify the key stakeholders the night before and swear them to secrecy. But that morning, the moment we're there at like 6 in the morning, I'll send out an email blast to everybody. So if you see
That would be
anything from me,
great. That's
please open that email and take a look at it. So
that would
I
be
can do that.
fantastic.
I can do that for the group. And I understand your angst when you come out and you see a bunch of police officers swarming the area. So I'll own that, and henceforth and forevermore, I'll ensure that we're sending something out that morning, or I'm sending something out like 6 in the morning. That's not going to hinder our operation. So I'll try and send it out the moment we're boots on the ground, and that way everybody will be in the same loop.
That would be fantastic. I do very much appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you for your concerns.
Thanks.
Thank
Do we
you for
have
that.
an update on the gunfire that we've been hearing lately?
So I won't speak on that other than to say we really haven't been out there, but what we have noticed, and we've spoken with DeKalb County, is that they were out shooting a lot of fireworks that sounded like gunfire. So I know DeKalb County responds to those calls also, but we have had the protesters in the woods shooting fireworks. So the majority of that in the evening are going to be fireworks. So if you look at your house, you'll probably see the streaks of light in the sky. So for whatever reason, they've taken to doing that for the past couple of weeks, is discharging fireworks. They even discharged some fireworks at some workers who were in the area maybe a couple of days ago.
Yeah, well, I know Nicole and I were even talking earlier today. We were hearing it more around lunchtime. So as far as seeing lights in the sky, that's not gonna happen during the day. But
Yeah, that's more at night. But again, if we're out there practicing, I'll make sure we're pushing that information out to you also, so you can distinguish between air quote friendly fire and hostile fire. But
Thank you.
we'll just make sure that we have better communication going forward, Amy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
No worries.
Amy, quick question for you relative to your community, because you mentioned a Facebook page. When when activity is happening, you have a method of notifying Starlight Heights, I guess, through that Facebook page.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
Good
we
deal.
have a community page.
okay, perfect. And Nicole, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, I was just gonna, and I don't know if it's gonna come up later, but just some of the firing sounds. Sorry, my dog is, but Yeah, we've heard it. I have not heard it at night. I've only heard it in the daytime. So I just wanted to clarify for that. And I guess I can just start calling it.
Again, I would encourage you to call it in. And so for that reason, that's another reason why we try not to disseminate a lot of information earlier, because as with the tire removal, we had several contractors out there. And so we don't want to put them in harm's way by tipping our hand too early and letting the protesters stage up and prepare a defense for us. So that's why I know it may seem like this is shrouded in secrecy, but realistically, we're trying to protect the contractors and other civilians that are out there. I mean, the police, we're fine being in harm's way, but we really don't want a contractor or anyone other than the police to get injured because of the tomfoolery that goes on out there.
Fair enough. And just a quick piece of input. I think after, or maybe it was on the tire removal event, I think, as I understand, that went quite well, but at the end, it was reported to me by a neighbor that some tires were lit on fire in the middle of Key Road down by Key and Fayetteville Road.
Yes, a tire was lit on fire, and that just goes back to us not revealing what we're doing too early so that they can stage up and rally up support to come out there.
Okay. Fair enough. And I know that was responded to quite quickly. I just wanted, wanted that to go on record that, at least that activity did happen that day.
Yes, so
Okay.
thank you. Are there any more questions for me?
All right. Well, thank you, Chief Tyus.
Thank you, ma'am. You all have a good evening.
You as well. With that, we can move into our next agenda item, which is our future meeting priorities. And for that, I will toss to Mr. Freeman.
All right, thank you. Evening, everybody. Hope everybody had a good day today. I am going to share my screen here, but one of the things that we spoke quite a bit about in our last meeting was talking about when we look at the future for the rest of this year, what would our focus look like? So I've identified these three areas in which I'd like to sort of discuss, and then also then open it up for any discussion, thoughts, or feedback that you all may have as we look to plan out the year. My goal is for everybody to sort of know what we're walking into. When I look through each of these, there are some pre-reads and information that I think that we should likely disseminate and also review before we get to the meeting so we can have some adequate discussion. And so in October, my idea and thought is that we go back to the conversation around the green space activation, some of the things in which we believe we can actually accomplish out there within the site. Obviously, not taking into consideration everything that you guys have already put forth. We've already incorporated. I'm talking about what else we could do in addition to that. And then the site and facility stewardship is something that in my conversations with the development team is something that they'd like to bring forth as a really good presentation for us to also discuss. So when we think about that, we know we've talked about a little bit about us, having the LEED silver facilities out there, some of the stuff that we're doing around solar, emergency e-vehicle stations and all that good stuff. We could have a really good discussion around that particular part of it. And then when we think about November, we're talking about landscaping and additional site updates. You guys know as well that we have been back and forth with DeKalb County regarding the land disturbance permit already, and also started that process. So some things have come out of that work with DeKalb already regarding some of the landscaping, some of the things that are around the site on Constitution Road and on Key Road and all of those different improvements and things. So I'd like for us to also be able to discuss that when we get to November. And then my thought about December is that we sort of focus on education. The first part, the site educational opportunities, goes back to the discussion that we had last week regarding the idea of, again, how could we potentially utilize the buildings and the actual site itself for educational resources. So again, we talked about potentially, are we doing any acknowledgement of the site itself? Are we doing any acknowledgement of the community that it's particularly in? Maybe it's legacy residents. There's a lot of different options and things that we could potentially talk about that could be highlighted within the facility. So that would be the time in which we discuss those. And then the educational partnerships, we would focus that meeting on the on kind of tailing off the conversations that we've had very in their infancy stage around how we partner with other schools. And so I'll be excited to share at that time some work in which we've done to modify a little bit of the interior of the leadership building to accommodate that educational part. So I think by then we could, again, have something really cool to talk about and discuss. So when we think about the rest of the year, that's what is planned right now from the design development team and then us over at APF. And then my thought, obviously, as we move into 2023, at that point, we should really start to be moving into sort of all of the governance stuff that we've talked about before, making some, decisions around how some of the different spaces are actually used, because we'll start to, get some construction under the way, at the top of 2023. So that's the thought there. I will stop there and pause for comments, questions, and discussion. Again, this is, I think, a really good time for everybody to add any input that you all may have. So if you have something else that you'd like to see, something that you feel like we need to accomplish as a group, then I'd love to also hear that.
Thank you for that, Marshall. I will go ahead and open up the floor, and please do give some input on items that you would like to see added to those meetings, or even items that fall within what Marshall just presented to us. Don't all speak at once. Okay, well, it doesn't seem that anyone has any input to give today, which is a-okay. What I will ask is, in the coming days, give some consideration to items that you wish to see on upcoming agendas to finish out 2022. I'll send out a survey via SurveyMonkey, which will maybe outline a couple of ideas and leave some blank space where you all can fill in your own ideas. But we certainly would like to have your input to make sure that we're covering all the topics that are most important to each and every one of you. One thing that I will say relative to our future meeting priorities, I want us to kind of revisit some of our strategic planning and really get some input from every member on items that are important to you, and make sure that the items that have or hold priority to you remain the same, or if they have changed, we have an opportunity to get that update. So keep an eye out. Some surveys will come out to you to get that feedback. And then I will also ask that each stakeholder from from each of the communities that is represented on this committee, I've got a task for you, which is to find 5 community members to participate in surveys and or focus groups that will be upcoming. This doesn't mean that that is the extent to which we are seeking participation. We will go far beyond that, but we would like for each of you to bring 5 stakeholders forward to be participants in those activities. With that, are there any questions?
I have a question for Marshall. I'm a little bit concerned that we're looking to make this so much of a community accessible academy that we're not looking at safety and security of the officers and the firefighters. I like the idea of community engagement, but somewhere deep down inside, I'm just, with all that has gone on with the protesters and whatever, I think that for a while, after everything opens up, there's going to have to be some built-in safety and security measures to protect the officers. And while, like I said, I love the idea of the building being community accessible in certain areas, whatever. In one of your presentations between now and December, can you address just how we plan to keep them safe?
I love that, Ann. Really good thought, and I appreciate that very much. And thank you for obviously thinking about the public safety professionals that are going to be working within this space. And I can tell you, we can absolutely incorporate that. I think we can definitely put that probably into the November time. I'll go ahead and I'll grid that in. But it has been a discussion that we have, continued to have. And I will tell you that, again, we've convened the best and the brightest architects and designers that we could ever have, because we have talked about ways in which we can keep facilities safe, ways in which we can add different security elements and things to them without necessarily taking away the the public access portion of it, in which we again are really trying to see happen. So at every turn, we're still fighting tooth and nail to try to keep this thing as open as we possibly can while prioritizing their safety and security. So I do think it's a great conversation to have. So yes, I'd love to add that to November. That's great, Ann, and I appreciate your thoughts very much.
Thank you both very much for that. Are there any additional comments? Suggestions for the agenda? General gripes? All right, ladies and gents, we can close out future meeting priorities and move forward with our Q4 meeting dates. On the table as of today, we have for October, 4 weeks out, October 25th. And we have November 15th. And then we were jumping back and forth trying to figure out if we could manage December 8th or December 14th. I can take a hearing from each of you now on where you stand on each of those dates, or if you would prefer, I can send out a doodle following this meeting and you can indicate what works better for you. But those are the dates as they stand. Is anybody interested in discussing our December dates now, or would you prefer to do so via a doodle? I see Nicole's hand raised. The floor is yours.
I was just gonna say, I would prefer the 14th. I have a conflict the 8th of December.
Okay, good to know. Does anyone else have any challenge if we move forward with the 14th?
So far, I don't know. It's too far in advance.
We have to plan out, especially with the holidays coming up. It can get a little hairy as we get a little closer in.
I think we're gonna have a million holiday parties by the time we get to December, but it's all right. We'll figure it out then.
Fair enough. Well, let's go ahead and set December 14th as our meeting date for December. If anything changes for any committee members, let me know and we'll do our best to work around it. Also, I can tell you that initially we were looking at doing the October meeting a little bit earlier, but frankly, it just didn't allow enough time for the development team to be able to do the work that they will need to do. And frankly, the turnaround on us to do the work that we need to be able to do behind the scenes. So again, October 25th, November 15th, and as of now, December the 14th. And with that, ladies and gents, I think we have come to the end of our meeting. I do see, Amy, did you have your hand raised? Oh, you're muted. Is that an accidental raise or intentional?
I was just going to ask you to repeat the dates again.
Oh, no worries. And I will email them out after the meeting.
Okay.
But October 25th, November 15th, and then December 14th.
Gotcha. Thank you.
No problem.
Madam Chair, we're going to approve the minutes from last meeting.
We did at the beginning of this meeting with the, well, I considered them approved with the motion. The motion to change. Is there anything else, ladies and gents? All right, well then with a quick recap, I will send out the DeKalb resolution piece as it comes forward to me. We have our security updates and working through how we can push those out to the stakeholders. Obviously, there are some challenges when it comes to ensuring that that does not go beyond our stakeholder group initially. And then our meeting priorities, I will send out some surveys to get some feedback from you all in lieu of the feedback coming out today. Our Q4 meeting dates are set. And so with that, it is 6:31 PM, a very quick and easy meeting. We are all done. If I can get a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Anne.
Second. Shirley.
Who is that? Shirley, thank you very much, Shirley. Well, thank you all for this evening, and I will see you in short order.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody
Have a good one.
Thanks,
Night.
everybody.